everyone, and welcome to another episode of Get Out of Rap. Today, I'm joined by Steve Powell of Alvaria. We have been working together for a while now, and I'm sure loads of people know Steve and that smiling face. Um, Steve, welcome. Thanks for doing this. How are you?
I'm good, Martin. Apart from the bit of a frog in the throat this morning, it's Friday and everything is good in the world. So yeah, I'm great. Wurzel Gummidge is back in town, down from his
S w
treehouse and on the airwaves.
S w T w E w V w E w. So, I think this is the second one of these we've done. We did one with Dan, but for those that didn't listen to that one or might not be aware, um, Alvaria, what are they all about, and what do you do for them?
Yeah, good question. So Alvaria CX, as we're known, you can't really talk about Alvaria CX without perhaps giving a bit of a nod to our history. And we are the output of the Noble Aspect merger. And when you think about those two organizations, steeped in history, pioneers, innovators, market leaders in outbound communication. So, as an organization, we are very much laser focused now on helping organizations, enterprises pivot from this sort of reactive, support intensive CX model to a more proactive, strategic, segmented customer engagement model using our best of breed orchestration platform, which we call Alvaria Intelligence Platform.
And I mean, this has been a really good partnership already. My background started in outbound. I was an outbound agent, then moved up all the way to global outbound director. So it's been a key part, the key part for me of my journey into contact centers. And then when I moved away from that, I noticed that it kind of not dropped off, but it was not talked about as much. But I get a real sense at the moment, not just through working with you guys, but through all the people I'm talking to in the industry, certainly what you see on LinkedIn, the outbound, or let's say proactive customer outreach, proactive customer contact is having a bit of a renaissance. Is that your sense, and why do you think that is?
Yeah, I certainly think that when you scan across LinkedIn, there certainly seems to be a lot more focus, a lot more messaging, associated to the benefits in proactive outreach. It was really interesting. I was in Manchester at the beginning of the week at the Core Miner Listen 25 event, and Core Miner are one of our sort of strategic technology partners, and their CTO was presenting, and he put up a list of the top 5 key focus areas for contact center. And I was really surprised that number one, proactive customer engagement, which I thought fantastic. That certainly resonates with me. Hopefully, it's resonating with with the rest of the audience. But I've got my own thoughts on why that is the case, Martin. I think it could open up a bit of a can of worms, but
That's what
from
we're here for.
yeah, from my experience, I think the CX conversation is broken. I think it's been broken probably for a long time, and I suppose as tech vendors, we've probably not helped that situation. I think for years now, as many years as I've been in this industry, organizations have been consumed with how they manage this, inbound demand, how they deploy, deflection tactics. And the tech industry's answer has always been, I think, to throw more tech at it. And when I think of all the waves of technology that I've lived through and sold through, the move to sort of hosted technology from on-prem, more capacity, more flexibility, more agility, more features and capabilities. Everybody moved. That really has not given the answers, provided the answers that probably everybody was looking for. Then we've seen, the move to cloud, more capacity, more flexibility, more channels, better IVRs, More features and functions. That's probably not been the answer. Then we've seen, Cloud Wave 2 with CCAS, these big broad suites of unified capabilities, speech rec, text to speech, natural language processing, more channels than you can shake a stick at. We've got 10, we've got 20, we've got 30. And, again, is that providing the answer? I think technology and automation is being thrown at this and sort of being seen as the answer to fixing the customer experience problem. Um, but I think it can solve symptoms, but it doesn't actually address the root cause of the problem. And I think organizations have got to get back to basics and understand, some of the key foundational areas of their businesses that need to be fixed, need to be transformed. And they're usually associated to, people, processes, platforms, technology. They need to fix a lot of the broken journeys that have been created, and I think they've just got to get back to building a brand. And I think you can achieve that far better through being proactive. Let's engage customers before they've got a problem. Inbound is usually taking a call that your customer's usually got a problem and a challenge, and it's not usually going to be a great conversation. So let's understand customer journeys. Let's reach out in those key moments that matter with the right value added messaging, whether they're sales calls, service calls, welcome messages, retention calls. I think proactive has got a massive part to play in fixing a lot of the CX problems that we see today. That's sort of my high level view on it, Martin.
I I love it. I think the component parts of all that technology and the um, evolution of technology has been is a positive. But I think you're spot on. What it's done is made from a customer's point of view, contact with us as the service providers so complex. This kind of maze of channels, self-service, deflection, pop-ups. And like you said, a lot of the time the contact is being made because there's a request or there's an issue. And you mentioned laser focus at the start of all of this. I think what outbound does, what that positive engagement does, it focuses on the customer. It makes their life easier, and it's certainly welcome from my point of view that we're having these types of conversations in the industry, that we're thinking, because we have all of these different areas, we have all of these different applications and technology, yet the output, however you measure it, wherever you look, is that customer satisfaction levels are low as they ever have been. So we're not getting it right, but this is an opportunity for us to get it right. And a key part of that, I know from talking to you, partners, people that you're talking to that are interested in what Alvaria are doing, that there's been a key phrase that you've used. I think this is your brainchild, and that outreach IQ. So outreach IQ, what is it?
Yeah, good question. And I suppose, yeah, this is a branding and sort of a vision that I've come up with as it applies to, not just our portfolio, but I think what outbound and proactive customer outreach stands for in the marketplace. And I think, our engagement with you and, you really pressing us about our customers and what we do and how we do it. I think your involvement in interviewing some of our clients and really getting to the crux of what our platform and what our technology is doing for these customers and some of the outcomes it's helping them achieve. It sort of raised broader challenges that I think the industry is creating for outbound contact centers, and the agents and the managers that are day in and day out sort of firefighting and trying to deliver the best outcomes. And for me, outreach IQ was a sort of a vision and a branding that is all about intelligent customer engagement at the core. We've got our outbound omni-channel sort of orchestration platform, but what makes this really different is this added layer of intelligence and an integration that we're delivering through some of our key strategic partners. And I'll call out some of those. So people like Core Miner, people like Intradium, Success KPI, um, our partnership with yourselves, partnership with Gary Gormley at Fab Solutions Forensic about business. What this is allowing us to do is elevate our proposition and elevate and optimize the whole outbound journey through this blended suite of technology, service, strategy, and training capability. And I think that, when you combine all of those capabilities, what that's going to do is it's going to optimize every element of your outbound journey, whether that's through, the data and the segmentation to optimize your campaigns, making sure that you're, right contact, right message, right time, right agent, through how you're manipulating that data appropriately, how you're executing within your outbound environment, leveraging AI, through to your people and your performance in leveraging that underlying intelligence layer, that you're servicing data that improves people, improves your processes, optimizes your campaign data yet again. um, it's really helping, I think, address lots of the problems that we see across the contact center landscape. And whether that is associated to onboarding, attrition, compliance, training, quality, automation, and ultimately people, and product performance. That is what Outreach IQ is all about. It's about delivering better outcomes for customers and better outcomes for the business, for managers, and ultimately for agents as well. It tries to encompass, the whole sort of holistic outbound environment. So I'm excited to see how that shapes out. We've got some interesting workshops scheduled over the coming weeks with our partners to fully sort of embed that and ensure that we've got the right go-to-market messages to support it. And I think there's a huge opportunity for ourselves, for our ecosystem partners, but more importantly, I think there's a real opportunity for the market to maybe listen to a different message.
Mm,
I think the power in sort of flipping this reactive inbound to proactive outbound has got so much value to add. We hear what 20 to 30% of inbound interactions could be removed through better proactive outreach. I think there was a recent survey from, I think, CX Today. 83% of organizations would welcome, or 83% of consumers rather, would welcome proactive outreach.
mm,
I think that, and I think there's another statistic that I read that apparently it's half the cost to
yeah.
provide proactive outbound communication that it is to continue this firefighting, of managing this inbound volume. So yeah, huge advantages I think for all in flipping this conversation. And I think I said earlier, I think this reactive out, proactive in is a really good strap line that I think we
That's
should start
lovely.
to use. Yeah,
I
good one
love
for you,
that.
Mart.
Uh, Very powerful stats. The most powerful being if it's done right and if it helps them, customers want this overwhelmingly. And what I really love about your concept and the fact that it's backed up by the capability that you guys have is you could flip that round actually. Outreach IQ could be IQ outreach. So you're because it let's be honest, it's difficult to meet en masse customers where they want to be met, when they want to be met, with the right information. So that takes a lot of coordination, and it takes a lot of competent people to be able to do that. And that's why the whole concept is around that, isn't it? It's about how do we get customers the satisfaction, how do we get them the outcome they're looking for, preventing the need for them to hang on a phone line for for 30 minutes. You know, the number one frustration that customers have is they're not answered quickly, and then they're bounced around, and they'll often have to ring back. All of that can be prevented, but it takes knowing your customer, it takes being able to get to them at the right time that they want, and then have competent people sat behind it. And it's like you said, it covers the breadth, the entire breadth of all of our activity within contact centers: service, sales, collections, welcome calls, retention. You know, there isn't anything you can think of that cannot fall within this activity.
Absolutely not. And it's interesting you say about, calls. I have been bracing myself to actually ring my digital TV provider. My mobile contract is up, and my house insurance has just landed. And there's three calls that I need to make that I am absolutely dreading. And
Mm.
I don't know whether as consumers we all feel like this, because we
Yes, we
just
do.
know we're going to be sat in a queue, we're going to be told how important we are, or we're going to hit a sophisticated IVR, and we're going to be bounced around, within that IVR system, or to people that we don't necessarily want to speak to. We're going to repeat ourselves, all the usual problems that I've experienced over the last 25, 30 years. And technology is just not fixed those problems. All organizations have done is this copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste of configurations and operational models between all the different technology platforms that have evolved over the years, and nothing is improved from a consumer experience. And I just think that has absolutely got to change. And I think one of the things that we didn't sort of touch on is also, the important role compliance and consent is
Mm.
is also playing now. I think, they've become almost like a strategic advantage. Businesses who embed that level of trust and regulation into their outbound campaigns, are focused on the GDPR and the Ofcom and their consumer duty, and all the other great things that we support, the guide rails that we put into our platform. They're not just, avoiding risk, they're building stronger and more trusted relationships as a consequence of that. And I think, maybe a lot of organizations have still got those concerns that outbound's got a bad name. But I think when, as you say, when it's done right, and it's done, using data responsibly, and you're building that level of trust, when you're delivering that value added messaging, or things that are going to be beneficial to your customers, who's not going to want to receive those calls? It's certainly going to help me in dealing with my mindset and overcome me, trying to ring these people and decide whether I retain my services with them or whether I look elsewhere. But as far as any of them are concerned, I don't have any sort of tied to these people, because I don't feel that I've got a
Mm.
relationship with them. I don't. They're a brand, but what is it that they actually stand for? We read all these mission statements and values, but how many organizations do we see living those in the way in which they treat their customers, their employees? It's Yeah, there's a lot that's been lost. I'm probably showing my years now, Martin. I just think, we've got to get more human. This industry should be about humanization. Automation has got its place, but for me, it's about taking a more human approach to businesses. And I think a lot of businesses could learn a lot from that, and try and move away from some of these old school ways of businesses, thinking, where it's all about profit and productivity and savings, and not what's good for the customer. Because I think if you instill goodwill into your customer base, you build those strong relationships, you've got trust, you've got upsell, cross sell, you've got loyalty, you've got retention, you've got all those boxes ticked. And I know that's what the CX industry is meant to be all about. But I think, as we've said, there's more choice of technology, it's more advanced, more CX practitioners and consultants and evangelists than you can shake a stick at. But nothing is changing. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a simple sales guy.
No, not at all. Because I imagine lots of people nodding their head when you're talking about what you have to do. Certainly, I was thinking oh, I've been asked if we can look at changing our energy provider, and I think, God, that's going to be a task. I know my mobile phone is up for renewal, and I'm getting emails, I'm getting texts. But one of the things that I think is missing, that is, as you were talking, then I was thinking, this is so aligned with, when do we ever sit back as an industry, and then all the individual companies within it, and think, how can we be helpful? We have all of this technology, we've got all of these great people that understand our how we work, and they're competent and hardworking. The people in our industry are amazing. But when we take all of that, how can we be helpful for our customers? What are their challenges? That customer journey you mentioned at the start, how do we make it easy for them? How do we make it low effort, given what we're asking them to do now is kind of like an obstacle course? There's reticence there about, right, I've got to contact my phone or energy or TV provider, because you're going to be going through a tough mudder type scenario, and it's gonna need a lot of time. Now, the flip side of that is, there are companies doing this right. They're working with you. Um, they're utilizing their other channels to make sure that they can meet customers at the time they want to be met, deal with their issue, do whatever it is they need to do. Happy days, low effort. And then the other thing I think that I picked up on that you were talking about, certainly is a real key one, and goes to overcome some of the, or dispel some of the myths about outbound. And that's that it starts with compliance. At whatever level I was working, the moment I became a manager and then onwards within outbound, that's where we started. Our foundation was our compliance. Are we adhering to all the regulations? What more can we do? Because, to your point, this wasn't just to CYA. This wasn't just to cover our ass. This was to engender that trust with customers, to make sure that they know their data, or adhering to any of the industry regulations we were working with, was paramount. And then we moved on. Then we moved on from that. So, that being a fundamental part of outreach IQ, I think is really important, because you're addressing people's concerns before they even, that's the first thing that people will be like, well, we considered outbound, but we're not sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All really good, valid points, Art. And the fact that we build those, we almost take that for granted. The guide rails that we build in across that whole, critical outbound end-to-end journey. But I think, when you reflect on some of the customers that we've got, we've got some phenomenal blue chip clients across tier one financial services, utilities, retail. We span, probably most of the industry verticals. And there's some really interesting use cases which you and I are
Mm,
continuing to surface, because again, I think the more that we can increase awareness around use cases and how our technology is addressing some of these use cases and some of the challenges that organizations face, then the more easy it is to, to have the conversations that we want to have. But one of the big things for me is that I think there's a lot of organizations out there that have probably adopted technology over the last few years, and they've probably evaluated on the breadth of capability it's got, all these unified suites of capability, but not really focused on some of the key areas for their business. And I've certainly spoken to a number of customers that have probably compromised their ability to engage in the right way with their client base because of the technology that they've adopted. And we'd love to expose more of those customers. And I think it's not until you've spoken to clients like that, that you realize there's a real fine line between when they've moved to this new technology and there's this expectation that things do what they did before. and then all of a sudden they've maybe tipped over from the point of view of they're bordering on being non-compliant because they want to maintain the levels of productivity that they experienced previously. um, but they can't quite fine tune algorithms and pacing in order to achieve that. They then can't report on idle time to understand, where those challenges are and how they can sort of look to improve those going forward. So, yeah, I've been exposed to a lot of challenges that technology has presented that is impacting, productivity, the ability to reach out right, is having implications when it comes to compliance, and these are all critical stages that have to be, evaluated when you're looking at your outbound tech. And I think that's why I'm so pleased that we've taken this approach where, we've almost tied, or sort of unshackled ourselves from infrastructure and have gone all about open APIs, and we have this ability to now integrate with, additional technology platforms where perhaps, they're having problems with outbound, where a customer
Mm,
wants to look at alternatives. And I think, no better example than that than what we're doing with the likes of Zoom and
mm,
our partnership in filling that really enterprise grade predictive outbound engagement capability in their portfolio. We're working with UJet, we're working with Avaya. When I talk to our leadership, I think there's a host of other vendors that are talking to us at the moment about our outbound suite. So I think great opportunities for us to really continue to take this, what I think is a really positive message to market. And it's great to hear that, that other vendors are talking to us, because that must mean that the drums are,
yeah,
yeah, the jungle drums are banging,
yeah.
because people are wanting more proactive outreach.
I think that's great, and it goes right back to that first thing we were talking about, which is there's a renaissance. The likes of Zoom um, wanting to partner or partnering with you. I think is an indication that they understand and that their clients and potential clients are saying we want to positively engage with our customers, and maybe they're in a position where they haven't done that, and this is a great opportunity for them to do it and to utilize in your expertise to do it right. And that the point you made about these tier one companies, I've been lucky enough with you to spend some time with them and to talk with them, and I really get the sense, these are people that are utilizing your technology, they're top of their game, and they're making massive positive actions for their companies and for their customers. But there's a little bit like no one really wants to talk about it and say, "Hey, we're doing this," and I think some of this is that legacy of that lazy thinking about when you think about outbound, you think about abandoned calls, people getting annoyed, and that's why we certainly have a preference, don't we, for a change in some of the language, because that change in the language to positive customer engagement means you can break with some of those myths that are attached to the word outbound, because none of the activity that's taking place using your clients as an example falls into the previous camp of what outbound is, because it's not that.
Ab- Absolutely. You very subtly led me into something that I'd probably forgotten to say previously, Mark. That, yeah, I think people aren't talking about outbound, and the more that I get into our client base, and like you say, there's some fantastic people out there that are responsible for these outbound platforms, the strategy, um, the messages that are being delivered to clients, and these people are really passionate about what
Mm,
they do, and it is an art and a language all of its own. And I've been nothing but amazed, about the job that these guys do, and how passionate and how focused they are about, just improving their organization, improving their process, improving what they do for their customers on a daily basis. And one of the key things that I wanted to incorporate as part of Alvaria Outreach IQ was this sense of community.
mm,
And one of the things that I've aspired to launch, and you've been helping me with this, greatly, is the concept of a champions program, where we bring our, our key customers together, whether that's in person, whether that's online. We're considering breakfast meetings, dinner meetings, hosted by the likes of yourselves and Gary, where we talk about what they do and how they do it and what our technology is doing to support their business. But more importantly, allow them to talk about, best practice and insights, from an operational, from a technical perspective about what they're doing and how they're doing it. And I just think it's just about putting them on a stage where they
Yeah,
can build their profile, they can share all that insight and best practice. Because yeah, I think it's a real missed trick. And I think if we can make a success of that, within Alvaria. And we want to get these guys on these podcasts because, they should be made famous because they're doing a phenomenal job for us. And, let's raise the bar for them and sort of, build their profile, and then establish, is there an opportunity to make this more of a wider initiative in the market? Because I know there always used to be dialer manager communities, but I just think they've probably died off. But these guys are still out there,
yeah, they
and they're
are.
still talking really passionately. And I know that dialer manager is still within you, Martin, as well.
Well,
That's
I
why you are so passionate about it. And
at
Gary
time
Gormley are the same as well. He loves it.
at times I had to do it myself, and then as we grew, we got dialer managers, and I think those I don't want to name them, but those that are listening might get PTSD when they talk about me, when I worked with them, because I would it was I always thought it was a little bit like a Star Trek or something like that, where they're the engineers saying, "She can he take any more?" And I'd be like, "No, I
Uh,
think we can do this, and I think we can do that." And but I love that, just trying to find ways to do things better and to utilize that. And the community that you could build with Outreach IQ champions, I think will be massive, because when they're talking to each other, going, "Oh, do you do this? Do you do that? How do you overcome this challenge?" It's that shared collective experience and skills across verticals is how everyone moves forward. Is how everyone gets better. But yeah, it's like I said at the start, the largest part of my career has been in this world, and I absolutely love it. You mentioned someone else. We've mentioned him a few times, but Gary Gormley is part of the gang, and he is in the States at the moment, isn't he?
I think he's back today,
Is he?
actually. Double G and his globe trotting adventures. He's been up on LinkedIn, I think, a few times over recent weeks, hasn't he, with his little escapades.
But someone else that is passionate and positive about the benefits of proactive customer contact, reaching out
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Gary's a huge exponent of that.
He is absolutely. Gary, I've known for a number of years, and I was always really keen to work with him. And the opportunity never presented itself until I joined Alvaria. And what better double act than to have, you and Gary Gormley, working and supporting our go-to-market efforts. That's, a bit of a dream partnership as far as I'm concerned. And I know you guys have made, some real waves, within our business. People see the credibility that you guys exude, the platform that you're giving us, the way you go about your business. It's all about, trust, professionalism, integrity, human centric, empathy. I think it's certainly what I want to stand for in the industry. I think it's what our platform enables for our customers. So I think having you two guys on board has been absolutely incredible for us. And we're hopefully only at the start of this journey, but you both supported our MSP and alliance partner event in the UK. And Gary has jetted across the pond to join our colleagues in the US, and delivering his wisdom and his insights about the market and the benefits of proactive customer engagement to our US colleagues and MSPs and alliance partners. So I'm sure he's got those guys buzzed up, and we're making him a global superstar. So I'm really pleased about that. So yeah, really, really, really cool.
Well, it's reciprocated, and I mean, the biggest draw for me was the chance to work with and talk to you on on a daily basis.
One of the things that we've got to do, Martin, if we're going to do another one of these, is I love your studio setting. So whenever you rock up on these podcasts, you always look about 10 years younger than the last time I
It's
saw you.
it's the
And
lighting.
it's all that mood lighting. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking you've got a great makeup artist there as well. And I'm sat here in my office, the sun is glaring in. I'm conscious that my white quiff is probably probably dazzling you.
The only problem with good lighting is that when you meet people in real life, I get two things. Neither of neither of them do much for my self confidence, but you're a lot shorter than I imagined, and you look a lot older.
I'm saying nothing. You've run the marathon, Martin. So in my eyes, you're a superhuman. So
Thank you
makes
very
no
much.
difference.
Um, let's just before we go, you when you look ahead to what's possible, um, and that can be for Alvaria, for yourself, for the industry. It certainly seems to me the future's bright. What excites you the most, do you think?
Just making a difference, and I think when I look back over my career, which is like too many years now, so many years selling contact center technology. It's almost been like a rinse and repeat. You go into customers that bought technology 3 or 4 years ago, new people have come in, they want to change it again. And it's you look at it and you just sort of think, why do they want to change it? This does everything that they need it to do, and you're not using it to half its potential. But they've got the budget, they change it, and there we go again. And that has been the merry-go-round of the contact center industry that I've experienced. That's my personal take on it. And during all of that time, nothing's improved. We're still at the status quo. And okay, technology can help, absolutely. AI and all the great stuff that AI is promising, yeah, absolutely, that's going to help. But for me, it's about let's get back to basics. Let's just do the simple things right. And let's fix some of these underlying root cause issues. And then we start to think about what technology can do to enable us as a business. And more importantly, what it can do to help us enable our customers and deliver better services to our customers and keep our customers happy and loyal and retained, and so that we can sell more to them. That to me is this perfect world. Let's go and skip through those meadows. And I just think something as simple as outbound. I
Mm.
never expected to get particularly excited about outbound because I've sold contact centers, but I've never really got outbound. But now it's like I've seen this light's gone off, this light bulb moment to think, yeah, why don't we just start reaching out to customers? Let's talk to customers. Let's build a relationship with them, and let's address their problems even before they even arise in their eyes. And as I say, I never probably felt that something so simple could have such an impact. And that is where I feel here that we can really go on a mission, and let's just cut through all the technology noise and just get back to basics and yeah, do the right thing for customers.
Spot on. And I'm sure if there's people listening that you all already do this kind of activity, but you want to do it better, or you want to chat about it, or you're thinking we're going to look at our customer journey and see how we can proactively engage with our customers and prevent some of this inbound frustration, or whatever it might be, then you have to get in touch with Steve or any of the team at Alvaria. And we're going to be doing some events as well coming up, which will give people the opportunity to talk to us. But Steve, it is even with the you know how much I love your tones. Um, I would never say words or gummage. I used to like that show actually. But it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
No, thank you, Martin. The pleasure is all mine. It's a Friday, so what else could I be doing better on a Friday? So no, thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
And have a great weekend. And thanks for listening, everyone.